Hello, hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and it's Wednesday. Let's create. We are going to be creating a card this evening, as per usual on a Wednesday night, and we're going to be looking at a couple of DSPs from the annual catalog. We're going to also be looking at one of the stamp sets that coordinates with one of those. So we're going to be using a piece of DSP from the Thoughtful Journey collection. And Thoughtful Journey is actually a 6x6 um, um, just lost my train of thought. A 6x6 DSP. There is also a 12x12 specialty paper that goes with it, and it's this gorgeous collection of 5 different pages. They've got like a metallic-y, ombre, shiny, gorgeous look to them, and I have those as well, but we're not actually using them on this particular project. So we're going to use some DSP from Thoughtful Journey. We're also going to be using some from Unbounded Beauty, and we're going to be using the stamp set Flowers of Beauty for this card. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can just say replay. So, good evening, good evening. I always like to give everybody a minute to find the link and get in and see what's happening before we get going too quickly. But we're going to start out our card. We're not doing a fancy fold or a fun fold today. We're just doing a regular standard card size. So I've got my card base here scored and folded. We're going to be creating this on the vertical. So I've got my fold to the left, my opening to the right. And the first thing I want to do is to add a piece of black cardstock to this. Now this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, and I'm going to add a piece of black cardstock that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's just a tiny little bit less. There will be a little rim of the white cardstock from the base showing. So we're going to go ahead and stick this layer down. We're going to create a couple layers here to kind of build up the base for our card. So again, this was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I like to use my fingertips just touching the edge of that creased edge, the folded edge of my card, and then just feel the cardstock coming up to it and then lay it down, and that usually gets me about center for the most part. I see my mom is watching this evening. Hey Mom, and Deborah's here too. Good evening, and Janet as well. Hello, hello everyone. So that's the start of our card. Then I'm going to bring in this beautiful DSP from the Unbounded Beauty, and I believe this is maybe, this is the Peach Pie color, one of the new in colors for this year, and it's kind of sort of a mixed media look. There's some dots all over it, what almost looks like ink has been lifted. There's some lighter spots, some darker spots. There's some texture and things happening on there, so it's really fun. And so we're going to go ahead and add that on here. So again, that's from the Unbounded Beauty. And this has been cut. Let me just grab the measurement here before I stick it down. You're seeing the back side. Isn't that pretty? It has been cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So we're going to go and add this right on here. And it's just a smidgen smaller than that black cardstock. So we're going to get ourselves centered if we can. So now you can see we've created those layers where we've got that little bit of white, a little bit of black, and then our beautiful DSP. Now the next step I want to do is I want to bring in something that I forgot to show you, and that is the Nested Essentials dies. And these dies have 3 different shapes. There are rounded rectangles, some banners, and some of these long shapes like this, which are really fun. There's 4 of each. They also have like little dots around the edge, so it looks kind of like they're stitched or dotted around the edge. We're going to use the 2 largest of this size, which is why they're already pulled out. And what I want to do is I want to use some black cardstock with the largest die, like that. And so let's grab our die cut machine here and create ourselves a little sandwich. I'm not even going to stick it down with washi tape. I'm just going to stick it on there. And we're going to run it through. Just like that. And there is our die cuts. So if you noticed when you were clicking in that our title for today is Die Cuts and Stamps for the Win. So there's our die cut. You're not going to see that dotted little edge around the border quite so well on just the black cardstock, but you might see it when we do our next die cut. Let me just move that out of the way. And then I want to bring in paper from the Thoughtful Journey collection. And there are some gorgeous watercolor inspired DSPs in this collection. And so I chose this particular one. You'll see I've already cut a piece out. That's because I was playing with this card the other day. And so I've already made one. So I'm going to make a second one. And what I want to do is I want to get some of this gorgeous sort of horizon line watercolor, some of this sort of cloud watercolor, and some of the ground watercolor all in my frame. So you're just going to want to play around with it till you're happy with where you've got it set. And I think I'm actually going to go over towards the edge like this. And then I'm going to run that through and trim that out with that second largest die from the Nested Essentials. There we go. And there's the die. And there is the piece that I have cut out. Now, some people might go, oh, that's just scrap now. No, I'm going to keep this because I've got pattern on the back side. I've got pattern on the front side. I can cut some strips. I can cut things. I can cut a circle out. I can do lots of stuff. I just put that back in with all the other papers. So we don't get rid of your scraps. You will find a use for it, even if it's just to cut a little banner or something. You'll find a use for it. No worries. I could even cut again around this one with the larger one and make a border out of it. You know, just about anything I could do. So this is our next step. And we're going to layer these two together. And I think it's probably easier if I layer these first and then add them to my card. And isn't this wonderful? Like, you could take your inks and you could take some of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper and you could spend the time to create the look of this. And it might take several tries to get what you want. Or you can just take your DSP, pop it in your die cut machine, cut this out, and tickety-boo. So for me, that seems like a good way to go. And now I've just decided that I actually want to use foam tape on this. And I've gone ahead and stuck the adhesive on there. So I changed my mind. You know what? Instead of doing that, let me just grab a little bit of cardstock here. So I've got something dangling. And if I cut 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4, that's going to cover up my adhesive that I just stuck on there. Anybody else do this? 3. Let's see. 3/4 of an inch. Actually, let's do a little more just for safety. And then 3 3/4, like that. And I've probably now stuck it to my paper trimmer. Sometimes when I forget what I'm about and I go and stick adhesive on somewhere where I don't want it, I just hide it. That's all you gotta do. You just gotta hide it. But let me grab my Stampin Dimensionals. I want the bigger ones because I want to pop this up. So let's add this on here. Now I could have just left the adhesive. However, if you just leave the adhesive, there's a chance that it's going to get squished in the mail and then it'll be all wonkadoodle when it arrives at the person you're sending it to. And so I figure it's probably better to deal with it now. The other thing you could do is you could take your little pouch that you use to prepare for heat embossing and with all the little starchy bits in it, and you could rub it on there. But that seems just the easiest way. And I changed my mind. I'm going to stick this down first now that I've got the dimensionals on there. I'm just all over the place. You know what the problem is? I didn't make the prototype for this today. And when I do things too far ahead of time, I forget what I'm doing. Does anybody else forget what they're doing? I mean, I forget what I'm doing while I'm doing it sometimes. So we're going to line this up. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap there. Kind of keep it equal top and bottom. Slightly crooked, just for good measure. Maybe we can fix that. Nah, we're going to leave it slightly crooked for good measure. And then we're going to go ahead and add this. You want to make sure you've got like your sky and your grass and your ground in the same spot, top and bottom. And then we can go ahead and add that on there like that. And then we want to bring in some stamped images. And for that, we're using the Flowers of Beauty stamp set. There are no sentiments in this stamp set, which just now reminds me that I should have stamped the sentiment before I just did the step I just did, which is the word thanks. And that is coming from the Spotlight on Nature stamp set. This one here, it has just a couple sentiments, dear friend and thanks. And I like this little thanks, and it seemed just the perfect size. And we are going to cross our fingers and make an attempt to stamp this because I want it actually stamped on here. I should have done it before I put the foam tape. Let's see if we can accomplish this. There we go. Look at that. No worries. I think I actually did the same mistake on the prototype too. So we've got our sentiment on there. Thanks. Okay, back to the stamping. These particular flowers are kind of interesting because there are 2 layers to them. So you can also get this with a die set. And as you know, during the month of June, starting on the 5th, we've been having a sale on these Stampin' Die bundles. So this one, there is a bundle, and you get the stamp set and the die set. And so these 2 particular stamps layer one on top of the other. So one is a little bit more, and this one is sort of outline and little details. And then we've got this double set of leaves. So there is the color for the leaves, and there's the outline. And then we've got these 2 flowers that work together, and so on. And so I'm going to show you with a couple of the little flowers here how you do it. And what I actually did when I was working on this was I actually used my stamp platform for doing this. Now, I didn't cut out a piece of paper, of course, because, you know, why would I? Be prepared ahead of time. But let's use this because we don't need a lot. And we're going to grab the smallest little flower here. Right there. We're going to do the solid one first. So there's the solid one. Set that aside. It's just little. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it down in this corner. And you'll see why in a minute, because I want to actually stamp 2 of these. So I'm going to just pick it up with my stamp platform. Of course, it always lifts the paper because it's a new, very nice and sticky stamp. I'm going to scooch this out of the way so we have more room. And you want to make sure you've seasoned your stamp, which I have, but I have also washed it. So I'm just going to rub my hand on it here to help season it. And the color I want to use for stamping this is Calypso Coral, which I have in a nice little ink spot here because Samantha was so kind to share some inks with me. And so I have a little Stampin' spot there that has Calypso Coral. But I'm going to come in first with a sticky note. And you're going to say, what's this about? And it's because I want to do second generation stamping or stamping off. And so I'm going to ink up my flower. And this is the solid one. Oops, that's always good. Lay it face down. We're going to stamp it once, remove the sticky note, and then we're going to stamp it again. So we're getting a lighter version of the ink. You see that? So we went dark and then we go light. Now I want to make 2 of these flowers. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my paper around. And there's method to this madness. I'm going to add my sticky note back on there. Ink up my flower. We're going to stamp it once on there. Take the sticky note off and stamp it again. Now you say you're only doing 2 flowers. Why are we bothering with the stamp platform? Well, here is the lovely trick. We're going to take this stamp off. Just going to set that there. And we're going to grab the one that's the outline. And if you've ever tried to stamp 2 layers of a stamp, or stamp the same stamp more than once, you will know that it's a bit of a exercise in patience. Should we call it patience? Insanity, maybe? And so what you need to do is you need to figure out where this stamp lines up. Just kind of look at the broad strokes of the image. Figure out where it lines up as close as you want it to line up. And you're going to set it, and then you're going to pick it up with this. And because we have stamped these both in the corner equal distant because of the platform, I don't have to reposition this stamp for each of them. And because we did second generation stamping for this, or stamping off, this is a lighter color. So now if I come in and ink this outline stamp all the way and just stamp that directly on my flower, we get that darker outline on our flower without having to pick a different color. We're just stamping the exact same color. And because this is kind of a watercolory look, if my lines are a little off, it doesn't matter. It's all in there. So that was our Calypso Coral, which is one of the coordinating colors with the Unbounded Beauty. And so we're just going to take this out of here. And you know me, if you've been following along, you know that I don't always buy the dies for everything. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't because I like to fussy cut. So we're going to go ahead, rough cut out our 2 little flowers. Now I could have actually stamped 4 little flowers on there, and that would have been lovely and efficient, and I probably should have done that because chances are I'm going to want to make more of these cards, but I didn't. So we'll just have to stamp more another day. So I'm just going to follow around the edges of my flower, pivoting my paper. When you're cutting out an image this small, you really get the chance to see that pivoting paper, right? My scissors are not hardly moving. They move a little bit, but hardly moving. But it's the paper that really spins around. You're going to leave a halo of the white around your stamped image. And you're just going to follow it just like you would if you had a die cut. The die is going to do the same thing. Okay? So there's one. And then we're going to come in and trim around the second one. Same process. Oops. Do a little wandering there. Got a little too exuberant. All the way around. Do, 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 do. We're almost there. You guys were almost serenaded this evening. Just before I came on, my one son was playing the trombone. We could have had some lovely trombone music happening in the background. Um, so there we go. We've cut out those now ahead of time. I also stamped out the larger flower and one more of the smaller flowers. And I also stamped out the 2 layers of the tall foliage here. And I did that with Old Olive as the more solid one, and the shaded Spruce as this one here. So those 2 have been stamped there. And then I fussy cut it, and yes, I did fussy cut some of the interior bits. And you've seen me do that kind of stuff, so I didn't do that on camera. I used the same 2 colors, Old Olive and shaded Spruce, to make the little set of leaves here. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add these on as our embellishment on our card. And so let me grab some liquid glue. For the first layer, we're going to add on this nice tall foliage. I've got glue on the end of my glue bottle. And I do not try to glue everything down, okay? I add a little bit of glue along the main stem, and that's about it, because I think if the ends of the leaves and things have a little bit of lift, that creates kind of a nice look. I don't mind that at all. And so we're just going to place that down there like so. So we're kind of using this side for florals to counteract the weight of this black line around here and this beautiful watercolor. So we're going to add some more weight to this side of our card. The next thing we want to add in is our largest floral here. And I'm going to add some dimension, a little Stampin Dimensional here. Just one in the center, on the back. And I'm going to grab my tweezers so that I can play with these without having my fingers in the way. So you'll notice in the center of this flower that there are the little stamens in the center of the flower. You probably want those sort of pointing upwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to layer this on, overlapping the pattern paper, the DSP, just a little bit like that. Then we're going to come in with these leaves and add a little bit of adhesive to the stems. And we're going to tuck these under the edge here like this. And hopefully we have enough clearance from the dimensional that we put under there. So there we go. So that gives a nice little bit of grounding there. We don't want to leave a huge blank space there because we want to kind of match what's happening over here. Then let's bring in, where are my little guys? The mini dimensionals for these little guys. Let's add one on the back of all of these, just in the center. One for you, one for you, and this one I'm actually going to put it off to the side a little bit. One for you. So this one, we're going to tuck them down here like this. Maybe stick them off to fill in that little gap there a little bit. And then this one here, take our backing off. And this one, actually, let's tuck this one under a little bit. Let me see. Maybe like that. We'll tuck him under because the other one was on top. Let's tuck this one under a bit. And then one more, and this is why I set my dimensional off to the side. You see it's kind of more on one of the petals rather than in the center. And I'm just going to put my tweezers on that petal. And I'm going to add this over here to add a little bit of something up in this corner. And you can actually slide it over until that dimensional hits the DSP. And there we go. Now, we've got our sentiment on there. We've got some lovely DSP. We've got some layers. We've got some foliage. We've got some flowers. What we're missing is, anybody know the answer? Drum roll, please. What do we always need to add to a card? So it seems to make it just right. We need to add some bling, 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 bling. And these are some bling that are retired now. They were elegant faceted gems that Samantha shared with me. And they're really pretty. And, but there's definitely lots of other gems and things that you can add on to your project. So I'm going to grab one of the larger ones that's kind of semi-translucent, I guess. We're going to put these as the centers. Actually, yes. The centers of our flowers. And then I'm going to grab one of the little ones and put it up here as the center of this flower. And that's just going to give us a little bit of shine, a little bit of bling, a little bit of something happening on that, on those florals. And actually, I'm trying to decide if that's the color I want or not. But yeah, I think that's good. But anyway, so that is our completed card using 2 different DSPs. We've also got die cuts in there from the Nested Essentials. We've got our Unbounded Beauty. We have the Thoughtful Journey. And I love how this creates kind of like a window looking out at a serene, field, a little bit of almost springy fall, or not springy fall, summer fall feel with that orange happening in there. But definitely a beautiful sort of landscape. Your mind kind of fills in a landscape with watercolor a lot. And then, of course, these beautiful stamped images from the Flowers of Beauty stamp set, popped up with some dimensionals, our little sentiment coming from the Spotlight on Nature stamp set. And I think that's just really pretty. A little bit of bling on there for a little bit of shine and a little bit of sparkle. And that is our completed card for today. So, stamps and die cuts for the win. Creating a fun card. Yes, Joanne, you're right. And Janet, sparkles and bling. Every card needs just a little something sparkly on it because it makes it special, and it's so special to get something in the mail that's not a bill or an advertisement. So we're always very happy to get a card, and even more so when there's a little sparkle and shine and bling on there, right? Have a wonderful evening. We will see you again soon. Happy crafting, and we'll see you the next time. All right, toodaloo. Bye.